inside job. Have you heard that before? Change the way you're looking at a thing, and the thing you're looking at is going to change. Period. End of story. One of my teachers, Kathy Ann Lewis from Seattle, said, "You can't make spiritual truth visible on the material plane by all your grumbling." And she says, this is really tough when there's so much to grumble about. Anybody have that? I think our job as spiritual warriors is to look for the good and praise it. And I know that sounds simplistic, and yet it is a profound spiritual truth. What you focus on expands. Imagine that. That's the title of my talk today, is Interconnect, which we've been sharing this month. Imagine that. Imagine being, doing, and having whatever you desire. Imagine that this world is filled with peace, harmony, and order. Imagine all your needs are met. And now imagine that for everyone on the planet. Wow. Because of our interconnectedness, it's absolutely possible that the world can share in your imagination. Your imagination is powerful. It's a pearl of great price. It's the creative faculty of your life. So what are you imagining? What are you focusing on? What are you paying attention to? Science of Mind teaches that our thoughts create our reality. You know, you've heard this. What we pay attention to is what is real to us. And in psychology, it's called biased attention, a type of confirmation bias where we very selectively focus on information that confirms our views while ignoring or discounting data that doesn't. And this, in turn, influences how we relate to others. We don't have to like what other people are doing, but they're doing it. And it can seem daunting sometimes to uncover hidden beliefs and biases that we have, because they're the sum total of all the thoughts we've ever believed in or had, and all the influences, how we grew up, our education, what we did have or didn't have. So we can't change the outside world, but we can change our response and our perception of it. Do you get that? Change is possible. Everything is an inside job. Take a breath. And notice if your mind's going, yeah, but. It's okay. Let's affirm, I pay attention to my thoughts and my life is blessed.
I pay attention to my thoughts and my life is blessed.
Our founder Ernest Holmes reminds us, we exist in limitless opportunities which are forever seeking expression through us. Destroy the thought that would place limitation or bondage upon any situation or condition. Talk to yourself, not to the world. There's no one to talk to but yourself, for all experiences take place within. Conditions are the reflections of our thinking and nothing else. There's but one mind, that mind is our mind now. It never thinks confusion. It knows what it wishes and how to accomplish what it desires. It is what it desires. That's kind of a riddle, isn't it? You know, these days, I have to remind myself often that even in the apparent absence of wholeness, there is wholeness. When I sit with congregants who are ill, as my job as minister and practitioner is to hold the idea of wholeness for all of us. Despite the appearance of it, the lack of it, even in the apparent absence of a solution, there is a solution. If you believe it. Even in the apparent absence of right action, there is right action. And even in the apparent absence of love, there is and always will be love. Again, it isn't always easy to be able to say that or understand it. But that's the truth of what we teach here. You know, we all have stories. We all have storytellers in us. Have you ever noticed you have a little storyteller?
Yes.
And the first step in becoming aware of our stories is to become mindful of how we objectify and stereotype others. And to do this, we must be willing to get quiet and pay attention to our first thoughts. Just think about that. Your first thoughts are the initial thought you have when you meet someone, or when something happens to us, or when we read an article or watch TV or the news. The first thought is generally the most unfiltered thought and reflects our hidden beliefs and biases. And once we become aware of those first thoughts, then we can begin to shift and transform them rather than letting them run the show. Again, your choice. And this can be difficult and challenging, but as spiritual warriors, we are called to practice. Practice. Notice what you're noticing. If we want transformation, we must be with what is uncomfortable and not just play the victim. Notice what you're noticing. That's what we're doing in this book study right now. We're really taking a mindful approach to, wow, this is upsetting me. Just noticing it. Not pushing it away, not denying it. Being curious about it opens a door to a possibility of something else. So as we engage in mindful practices, it's important to remember our spiritual tools. We have a lot of them here. Again, Ernest Holmes writes, with a good-natured flexibility with yourself, learn to rise from confusion into peace. Rise from sadness into joy. Turn to the light within. Believe in yourself. Listen deeply to the divine nature which forever imparts itself to you. You're never separate from that divine self, even with all the clouds that are happening right now. Affirm with me, I turn to the light within and I listen deeply.
I turn to the light within and I listen deeply.
Just be still for a moment. Imagine that light within you. Maybe it's tiny, maybe it's a little flicker, maybe it's a big flame, but it's there. Even in the apparent absence of love, there always will be love within you, always. So seeking to free ourselves from biases and stereotypes is a practice. All of life is a practice. Have you noticed? There's no end goal, but the more we're mindful, the more likelihood we're going to have a more fulfilling, rich life. Remember Ram Dass in the 60s, 70s? He had a famous phrase, remember it? Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. So when something riles us up, we can take a breath and say, be here now. We get to choose what each moment looks and feels like and not be run by our old biases and stories. Because that's just being on autopilot. Something triggers us and we just go off. We don't have to do that. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Buddhist monk that Reverend Sarah talked quite a bit about last week, says many of us get swept away by events and situations around us and by whatever we see and hear. Have you ever been swept away? We lose ourselves, he says. This is why we must also cultivate freedom from the crowd. When you have real freedom, even if the crowd is shouting or going in a direction, you can still be yourself. And you're not swept away by others. And as you think about this, just notice in your own, that first thought, any resistance you have. So take a breath with me, close your eyes for a moment, and just get quiet. And ask yourself this question. How do my hidden biases prevent me from treating others with loving kindness? And just be willing to be with whatever arises without judging. And if you're thinking right now, oh, I've done my work, I don't harbor prejudice or biases, well, think again. Because we all carry them. We carry stories that affect the way we see others and situations. So bless our hearts. Simply acknowledging what you're noticing. How can I bring more love and compassion into this situation? Just be curious for a moment. Or with this group of people, or with this whatever. And take a breath. Come back. Your presence in the world makes a difference. The way we each show up makes a difference. What you think, say, and do ripples out into the world. We know this. So be mindful of how you're showing up. Just be mindful of it. Don't beat yourself up if you forget. And honk at somebody. Remember honking? Are you willing to radiate love and peace? Yes. Are you willing?
Yes.
Yes.
Or do you just want to keep grumbling? Yeah, I just want to keep grumbling. I just want to be pissed off. If we stay in that vibration, it creates toxic chemicals in our bodies. So be aware of that too. It's not just in here, it's in your whole physical body can be reacting to tension and anxiety and upset. We want tonic chemicals to move through our body, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for tonic chemicals. And remind yourself often, we all come from the same source. We're all interconnected. We are all one with life, and life is one with us. Imagine that. Imagine that. Again, just stay curious. So I want to close with a little story about a pencil. An old pencil maker took his newest pencil aside just before he was about to pack it into a box. And imagining the little fellow as a person, he recalled a few things about the pencil. "There's some things you need to know," he said to his pencil. "Before I send you out into the world, remember these things and never forget them. And you will become the best pencil that you can. The first thing is to remember that you will be able to do great many things, but only if you put yourself in someone else's hands in order to help them. From time to time, you'll experience a painful sharpening, but remember, this will make you a better pencil. Also keep in mind that you will be able to correct any mistakes you make along the way. Thank goodness. And the most important part of you is what's on the inside. And remember this as well, upon every surface that you use, you must leave your mark. No matter what happens, you must continue to write. It seemed the pencil listened to him and promised promised he would remember these things so he could live his life with heart and purpose. So let us be willing to be like the pencil. Help others. Know that your discomfort may be a doorway to something better. You can self-correct. What's on the inside is the most important. And leave your mark with heart and purpose. Smile. You're on life's camera. And you, my friend, are a pencil. And so it is. Let's take that into prayer. Okay. Let's just take that breath of coming back into that sacred center. That place that within us that we have never been separate from our good, that light, that spark of the divine. We just allow it to glow within us, however it does. And so I'm grateful to recognize that the one and only Spirit, God, Source, Divine, Creator, infinite intelligence, whatever is the God of your understanding, is everywhere present, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. In you as you, in me as me, in everyone there's this energy and vibration of the Most High. And so as we recognize this powerful presence, we are each individualized expressions of this one. We're each a gentle wave in the ocean, flowing, containing all of the elements of this one ocean. Each of us containing love, compassion, peace, harmony, order, abundance, prosperity, love. And so I'm grateful today to claim and know that for each of us there has been a shift in consciousness, maybe an opening about being more mindful of how we are in the world. And so I know that everything necessary to the full expression of our well-being, each of us, is available to us through the mind of God within us. And it's happening right now. So we breathe in this acknowledgement and just say, thank you. Thank you, God and me, for all the good in my life. Thank you. One of the best prayers to say is thank you. And so we breathe that in. We breathe in that essence of spirit within our very being, knowing that every cell, fiber, muscle, tissue, bone, organ, and gland is vibrating with that divine harmony. Our physical body, mental body, and emotional body coming into balance right now. Right now. Right now, because now is the only time. So we relax, we let go, and we truly let the divine, let God do God's work. And it is with joy in my heart that I release my word into the law, knowing we've planted a beautiful seed today, a wonderful seed. And we just let it be, and join me in affirming. And so